My name is Sherry Harden, and today I'm going to discuss with you informal assessments that I gave to Luke Hart. Luke is a student that's in a self-contained special education classroom who he received a psychoeducational assessment in October of 2015. During that time, it was found that on the Woodcock Johnson 4, he received deficits in all areas, in all academic areas. So I chose to do informal assessments that would help me determine whether he still struggled in those areas. The first assessment that I did was to determine if he could decode and read CVC words. Being able, CVC words is important to be able to read and decode those words. So on this assessment, I showed him 24 different flashcards that had the words on it. Luke was cooperative during the assessment. He interacted well with the teacher, was very engaged in the activity. But he read 7 of the 24 words that was provided, which gave him a score of 29%. So this assessment goes along with his psychoeducational evaluation in showing that he still has deficits in the areas of reading. Luke will require interventions and supports to be able to become successful in reading, to be able to read and decode CVC words. The next informal assessment that I gave was to check on jailbird words. We use a program called Connections in 3D, OG in 3D in our classroom. And that program uses jailbird words synonymous with sight words. And it's important for him to be able to, he's exposed to these sight words on a daily basis. So it's important to help him become fluent in being able to read those words. I chose to give an assessment to see where he was at. He was shown on 10 sight words. He was shown the word is, has, his, the, to, the number word to, TWO, have, said, you, and do. Luke was able to read 2 out of the 10 of those sight words, which resulted in a score of 20%. This informal assessment did assess the information that I was looking for. I was looking at wanting to know how many of the sight words or jailbird words he would be able to read if he was presented those in a book. So I do feel like it was a valid assessment of his ability. He was cooperative. After I presented the informal assessment to him, we went over and went back through the words and I read them for him if he didn't know what they were. So he was engaged with the activity. He participated in all what I was doing. I do feel like it was a valid assessment and it assessed what I was looking for. The opportunity or his ability to be able to read the sight words. I do agree or think that it goes back. It supports the information that was in his psychoeducational evaluation and that he has deficits in the areas of spelling on the achievement testing. I also presented Luke a worksheet that had addition problems on it. With this, on his psychoeducational evaluation, he had a deficit in mathematics or calculation. I was trying to determine how well he could add or subtract double-digit math problems with regrouping. Luke was presented, most of the problems that was on this worksheet all had regrouping. He scored 1 out of 12 on this worksheet. The only problem that he got correctly was 33 plus 11, which therefore has no grouping on it. So math is a struggle for Luke. He does have issues with it. He will continue to need interventions and supports in being able to learn mathematics and calculation. He which is a life skill that he's going to need to know. So we will continue to work on interventions with this. I also presented Luke with a worksheet that had coins on it, money. Learning out how to count money is a life skill that Luke will need to know for the rest of his life. He was presented a worksheet that had pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters on it, and he was asked to count the money. He was also when doing that, he was able to count the pennies. He got both of those right. There was 8 problems on this worksheet, and he did, as I said, get the pennies correct. On the nickels, dimes, quarters that was on the worksheet, he counted the number that was there instead of counting the value of the money. This worksheet, I do feel like provided me, or this assessment provided me with the information that I was trying to get. I wanted to know how much, if Luke could count money, and where we needed to start in our interventions with being able to count money. So Luke will be provided with some assessments or some interventions and supports in being able to count money. We'll start with pennies, and once he learns to count those fluently, then we'll go on to nickels and teach those skills. The last assessment that I gave with Luke was a behavior assessment to determine whether he was still exhibiting inappropriate behaviors at school. In his psychoeducational evaluation on the adaptive skills on the ABAS, he was shown to struggle with hyperactivity and impulsivity. This assessment counted the number of times that Luke was off task. It defined behaviors such as being out of his seat, playing with the paper at his desk, or not being engaged in the activity and talking. I used tally marks to record the information that I was looking for, and on this, he was in a 30-minute time period. It was shown that Luke was off task at least 8 different times. He was up and down, out of his seat. His ear was bothering him on that day, and he kept going to get a Kleenex, and he would roll it up and stick it in his ear. But even with that, I mean, he was off task for 8 times. I do feel like this assessment was a valid assessment. It did give me the information that I was needing. It showed that he still struggles with being able to be on task and complete his work in a timely manner. The informal assessments that I gave all correlated with his psychoeducational evaluation. The Woodcock-Johnson 4 test of achievement was given, and like I said earlier, Luke had deficits in the areas of reading, writing, language arts, spelling, and math calculations. The 2 spelling and reading informal assessments that I gave provided information that correlates back to that he does still have deficits and and will need interventions to help him gain success in those areas. He also, on the behavior rating scales, he was shown to need support in the areas of being on task and having appropriate behavior. The informal assessment that I gave did show that Luke still requires supports and interventions to become successful. All of the assessments that I gave, I feel like was valid. I feel like he was engaged with the activities, and he worked to complete what I was asking him to do. And I do feel like it shows a true representation of his ability. We will continue to work with Luke with interventions and supports to help him become more successful in his academic career.